Welcome to the Signature Self Show, where we are learning to live a life that is more fun, fantastic, and fulfilling by dumping our junk, discovering the real you, and designing your ideal life so that you can show up more confident, creative, and courageous in all of your life. Welcome to the Signature Self Show, guys. I am super duper excited to have you here today. I have Andi Costello on today, and I got to tell you, you're in for a treat. So her and I met, we've kind of like bumped into each other like here and there, right? Like we have a lot of mutual friends. We kind of have like, I wouldn't even say necessarily similar circles, but we kind of do. So it's really funny how we just like kept bumping into each other.
We're like a Venn diagram. Like we have a little bit of overlapping. Yeah.
Totally. So it was really great. Andi finally, like she had the courage to reach out. I was a little intimidated, I'll be honest. So I didn't reach out, but she did. And we got together and we immediately hit off, and she had this really cool concept. And I was like, oh, I have to have you on my show. So I'm really excited to introduce her to you. Andi is a real estate agent. She's amazing. She has her show. What's your show called, Andi?
I have a podcast called Homegirls of Southwest Washington. So, yeah. And then I do a weekly video series called Couve Living Community Connection. So I do a lot of different things. Yep.
I didn't even know about the podcast. Oh my gosh. So clearly we have more to talk about. We already decided that before we got on here. So I knew about the Facebook one, which I actually enjoy watching because she introduces people to business owners, which honestly, some of them I never even knew about. So that was really great. But what I have Andi on here for today, I feel like we could talk about multiple things here easily. But what I have her on for today is she's actually going to speak a bit to our designing your ideal life part of the Signature Self system. You know, we talk about dumping the junk, designing your ideal life, discovering you, and then designing your ideal life. And I felt like this particular concept that she's going to talk to us about today fits so well into designing your ideal life. In fact, so much so that I'm ready to implement it as soon as she's done. Like, I cannot wait. I was trying to speculate and tell her what I thought that everything was, but I was like, no, I want to hear it from you. So without further ado, can you please tell us what you are here to talk about today?
Sure. So I wanted to talk a little bit and share some of my tips and tricks for becoming the mayor of your town, or the mayor of your industry, or sort of being a thought leader in wherever type of work that you might be working in.
Okay, so mayor of your town. Mm-hmm. This is what caught my attention. It's super cool. Yeah. Can you tell us what that means?
Sure. Well, I spent 15 years in local government, so I've worked with a lot of elected officials. And even if you aren't familiar with what a mayor might do or in your community, you know, a mayor is typically, a mayor is, typically is always an elected official, either elected at large or appointed by a smaller body of elected officials. And a mayor is oftentimes the figurehead, the spokesperson. You know, if there's a natural disaster, the mayor is the one talking to the media. They're typically the ones out in the community doing ribbon cuttings and keynote speeches, and kind of the one that's representing the community as a whole as the figurehead, kind of like how the president is of our country is kind of the figurehead and the spokesperson maybe for our country, not the 500 plus members of Congress, 535 members of Congress, right? So you kind of have a spokesperson, and that's kind of what a mayor's role is. And so I kind of took some of those concepts of what a mayor does, of kind of connecting and helping a community like show their best, right? A mayor is hardly ever going to tell you like what the dirty laundry is, but they're going to be like, you should, move your business to our town because we've got great schools and, we've got all this land you can build on. And, they're just kind of the chief cheerleader, I guess, maybe is a good way to explain it. So, yeah.
That's fair. Yeah.
So I'm actually going to write that down because I love alliteration. And chief cheerleader just sounds really good.
I love it. It's amazing what comes out in these interviews. Sometimes you get gold nuggets, right?
Yep.
When you're pulling greatness out, you can't help it. I love it. So, Andi, tell me what that looks like. So being the mayor, so you took this concept out of your own experience. Mm-hmm. And so tell me what the good parts are. So what are those things that you're like, okay, I'm going to take this and I'm going to use it in my business?
Yeah. So one of the things that a mayor does is like I said, is the chief cheerleader. So they're always talking about what they're passionate about. And obviously they moved to a community for a specific reason or what they liked about the community. And then they decided to run for office and maybe make it better or, make some changes. But overall, they obviously are pretty excited about it. So when I moved to Vancouver, I was really excited to be here. I finally, after moving and chasing my last career, I was like, I love it here. What can I do in my own way to cheerlead the community and highlight what other people are doing? I mean, in my industry, everybody knows what a real estate agent does. There's not very little value, I would say, that I can provide, like kind of on a broad scale. I can educate people and I can do that. But for the most part, people understand the basic concepts of buying and selling real estate or investing. I'm always happy to educate on those things. And I thought to myself, well, what can I do that's different? How can I provide value to my community? And so I thought, well, I want to go learn. I want to go learn from other people. What's made their businesses successful? How can I maybe take some of those things and apply it to my business? And then how can I share their story with other people? And kind of all mixed in with this was understanding the social media algorithms, that video is like right now the best. Maybe one day it'll be virtual reality or something we don't even know what that might be, but right now it's video.
Yes.
So really kind of leveraging what was ranked high in the platform, as well as like my own passion of sharing what other people are excited about and what makes our community a really good place to live. And sort of taking like, how can I cheerlead and tell people like, this is a great place to live? Because like, look at all these cool business owners and look at these cool things people are doing, these nonprofits that they're starting and these causes that they're passionate about, and be able to share that with the community and really highlight other people. So it's not about me. I mean, so that's kind of was my approach.
So good. I'm thinking three things as you say this. One, our mutual friend Amanda Goff is going, yes, video. Right?
Definitely.
Like,
Yep.
Amanda, love you.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, okay, so I want to back up about this cheap cheerleader. Okay, so we are definitely, I'm super excited about this because I won't lie, I remind myself of a cheerleader because I'm back there like, oh yeah, rah, rah, go, go, go. But actually I really love that because it's encouraging, and in a world where we have so much negative all the time, I think it's really great that you're looking from a positive side of Vancouver. And I love that you love Vancouver.
Yeah.
Our little tiny place. When you travel,
Yes.
you have to say, okay, not Washington, D.C., Washington State, not Vancouver, B.C., not Portland or, Maine. Nobody knows where we are, but we have a great little town, right? We have a great spot. So I love that you're taking that positive and that you love it and that you are introducing people. I mean, it's really cool. So what are some of the tangible things that you are doing? You kind of mentioned it already, but can you tell us, so if I was a business owner, I guess is what I'm trying to say, what would you say that I should do to implement what you're doing?
Sure. Well, I think the first thing to think about is to find your passion, right? Not everybody maybe is going to be passionate about where they live like I am, or they're not going to be passionate about, everybody's not interested in the same thing, which makes this really a great opportunity to go find what you're interested in. So maybe you're a chiropractor, but you're really into, the education in your community. And that is something that you're really passionate about on a personal level. Because I feel like if you're not passionate about it and you're just faking it, people are totally going to pick up on that.
Totally.
Yeah. So I think the important thing is like the first thing is like find your passion. So whether that's a nonprofit or whether that's the people in your town or like parks in your town, maybe you love parks, or you're like a kayaker and you like want to highlight all the cool places that you can go kayak, right? So you're, again, profiling something else that's not telling people like, hey, I'm this great chiropractor. Look at me. It's like, hey, you're providing some value, but you're doing it around something you're already interested in. Right? I think that's really important, is to not fake it. I've done over 80 videos and I enjoy it. And every time I think like, should I keep doing it? I do it because I enjoy it and I'm not faking it. And I think that's really important.
Ooh, can I pause for just a second there? I think it's that thing that if you were never to make money off of it, you would still do it, right? Because I know like when you probably do these things, it's like, I don't know if you ever even think about the money side, but a lot of people do. A lot of people like, am I ever going to make money off of this? But maybe you'd still do it anyways.
Right. And I think finding your passion or highlighting that passion on video, or writing and it doesn't have to be video. You could write blogs on the best places to kayak, or, you could do other things. You could tweet about like, hey, I'm at if you love coffee, we're the most coffee shopped per capita place in the country. If you want to write, 140 characters on your reviews of coffee shops on Twitter, you'll find people that are on Twitter that like coffee, that then as you're building that engagement around what you do, people are going to feel like they know you. They're going to be like, I want to go to that massage therapist because I feel like I know them and we are on the same page about our love of coffee. And so I think that's really important, is to like find what you're passionate about. If you're not a writer, then you shouldn't start some type of regular, consistent program on writing a blog. That's probably not a good fit. So you need to find your passion, not only like physically what you like to do, but also then how you're going to share that message.
Yes. Oh, I can't even tell you. So much of what I talk about, of course, with the signature self, is that you don't just go out and do what everybody says you should go out and do, because you're going to burn out. Like in the coaching world, it's rampant. I don't know how it is in the real estate world, but it's like you start coaching and like everyone's like, oh, you need a podcast. You need to do this. You need to write a book. And it's like, I don't even want to write a book. Like, why? But if I do it, I'm going to be exhausted. Or if I do a podcast that I'm not enjoying, I'm going to be exhausted, because there's a lot of work that goes into every single one of those things. I think what you just said is key.
Yeah. So I would say that the next step after you find that passion is kind of, how are you then going to market that passion, which I was kind of alluding to, like, okay, you're, loving to do, you love to sail. So now how are you going to talk about sailing, and also finding a way to tie it back in to what you do as a business owner? If you are, a sailor that owns a sign making company, you need to find some way of making a nexus to that. Like, I love sailing. And then maybe every time you're going into a new port, you're taking a picture of the sign of like, here's how I'd make this sign better. Or this isn't really a good reflection of this port's location because, the sign's beat up or rusted out or something like that. So I think kind of finding what you're passionate about and then tying that to the business industry that you're in is really important, and doing it consistently and in a manner where you think that your audience is, or that you can also sustain doing. Because again, if you don't like to write, you shouldn't be blogging.
Agreed.
So yeah,
agreed.
not a good use of time and energy, and you'll stop doing it, because I think a lot of people have these great ideas for their business, the podcast, whatever you're going to do. And then they're like, this is so much work, and they don't enjoy it. So then they stop doing it. And then you have no consistency to build on that marketing that you're starting. I mean, if I had stopped after the first 6 months and been like, well, this isn't working, I'm just going to quit, I never would have gotten to this point with the consistency, and people are expecting me, and I want to drop a new video every week. And they want to see, who do I know, and who am I talking to, and what kind of business am I profiling this week? And so I think that consistency is super, super key, as well as building your culture and your brand around whatever you're passionate about.
So good. Oh my gosh. Okay. I feel like we could go on and on about this, because seriously, it's so good. It's so key. So find your passion, figure out how you can tie that to how you want to do it, how you want to tie it to your business. What would you say for next? Is there a next step, or is that, what do you think?
Well, I think, there is some type of refining, like whether it's, even if you enjoy it, as you get busier, your business grows, you do need to find some type of system. How are you going to consistently continue on this program of whatever that you're doing? It doesn't matter what system you're using or what method you're posting, whether it's the video or the writing. SEO loves consistency, and they love when you're on their apps and their programs. So, again, if you are having trouble doing something, or maybe you do love to write, but now your business is so good, or your family dynamics are changing and you have a new baby and you can't be writing your blog. Okay, now maybe you need a system. Like maybe you need to be, dictating your blog and having somebody type it for you, or hiring a copywriter to, prepare your blog post for you. Whatever that might look like, you need to figure out how to get that system in place so that you still enjoy doing it. And then the consistency is like the number one thing. So many businesses start things that they don't finish. And then they're like, well, I tried that mail campaign. I tried this thing and it didn't work, because you did it for 2 months. And then you're like, And that wasn't enough. Our memories, we are bombarded with thousands of ads a day in all sorts of ways that you have to do something consistently to actually stand out. And I think because the public has such a short memory, the consistency and the longevity is so important.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. Wow. Such good information. So if you were to think of one thing, like, okay, so someone's saying, all right, I love this concept. This is great. I want to implement this like myself right now. What would you, if they could take one thing away from what you're talking about today, what would you want that one thing to be?
I would say the one thing is you've got to start with finding your passion. You have to find what it is that you care about, whether it's a nonprofit, whether it's, your business partners, and you want to highlight them, or your business referral partners, or, people that are competitors. I mean, there's enough business in every industry for everybody that wants to work. And I really believe that. I could have done a video series on interviewing other real estate agents, what makes them good, or, I'm not necessarily a good fit for everybody. And I know that. So depending on what your passion is, I think is so important, because if you start off on the wrong foot and you're only doing something because you think it's going to grow your business, you won't stick to it. You just won't stick to it. And to become the mayor of your industry in your community, it is so important to be consistent. A mayor is out there banging the drum every day, telling people how great their community is. And so if you're not out there banging your passion and connecting it with what is paying the bills and what you are doing for work, it's not, the whole system won't work without that.
Oh, so good. Okay. Now I'm curious, do you have any like examples, real life examples of people who have done this? I know you've got your show, which is a great example. You also do some volunteering. So actually, okay, so two questions then. First one, do you know some people who are doing this? And then we'll go to the second question.
Well, I think that there are other people out there doing things for marketing for their business in a consistent manner. To be honest, I don't, that is a good question. I would have to think about who.
That's okay.
I could point to of like who is consistently using their passion to drive their business. I'm trying to think of some national ad campaigns that it's like, hey, they're kind of talking about this, but they're talking about that. And with the Super Bowl just having passed, I'm trying to think of some good commercials of like, kind of the feel good. Now, of course, I don't know that it's all altruistic, right?
That's okay. I kind of threw that question on you. I was just curious because I know you're out meeting people in our community and stuff. But then the second question is, you do a lot of volunteering. Can you, and sorry, the whole reason I was asking that first question is because there may be people in here who are like, well, I'm a plumber. How do I do that? Right? Like, what do I do? So thinking about some examples of people who've done it, maybe there is some like obscure things, because it seems like there are probably some out there that they'd be like, well, what can I do? I don't know.
So. Well, I would have a great idea. So that plumber, what are they passionate about outside of plumbing, right? Because that plumber could do a blog series, in my opinion, on the different types of plumbing problems they might see and how they would fix them. And that would be interesting if you have plumbing problems. But if you want that plumber to stay engaged, it's back to finding what are they interested in to kind of be marketing their business along with what they're interested in, right? So if that plumber is, for example, interested in flying a plane or in aviation, it's like, well, how could you kind of talk about the cool things like, hey, I'm just working on getting my credit hours, and then kind of doing a video series or a blog series on the people that he's talking to in the aviation industry, because you think people in the aviation industry don't need plumbing problems, right? He's trying to reach his audience through like sharing his passion, so he can get excited about, talking to the guy that fills up gasoline at the airport where he flies his plane out of, and kind of like, hey, what is it like to, do airline fuel? I mean, these are, just sort of esoteric examples, but, kind of taking that industry and what he's enjoying into his plumbing, right? And there's no way that he couldn't not talk about what he knows the most, which is plumbing, along with aviation, and weave that into his, because again, everybody knows what a plumber does. Maybe not how they do it, but they know what they do. He doesn't have to sell, I'm a plumber and I can fix your sewer line and I can unclog your drains, right? People know, like with a real estate agent, they know what I do, but tying what he's passionate about, like it would give him personality. He would be building this network and this mayor campaign within the aviation industry that I think ultimately would drive business for him, right? Because he'd get known.
That's great. Yeah, it's kind of like what you said. How do I stick out, right? What do I do differently?
Right.
I love it. Okay, and then second question is, you do a lot of volunteering. Can you tell us about some of the things that you do? And because I think that also ties into your being a mayor, because the mayor's out there doing stuff, right?
Definitely. It goes back to finding your passion. I do a lot of different things, but I only really volunteer for the stuff that I'm interested in. I think we all know the people that volunteer one day a year and kind of take that selfie and say, look how amazing I am. I volunteered today for 2 hours, right? And I mean, hey, great. Our community needs all types, and if that's all you can give, it's better than giving nothing. So I'm not trying to diminish their efforts. The reality of it is every community needs consistent volunteers, just like they need consistent donors, right, to fundraise. And so I think that it's really, really important to, again, find what you're interested in. Don't volunteer for something because you just think it's gonna help your business, because that'll come through, right? Because then you're gonna go volunteer and you're gonna be like, here's my card. Oh, you should do business with me because we volunteer together. And again, we've met those people. Right? Yes. And it's that salesy trying to shove it down your throat. It's like, I volunteer because I love what I do. And then I also want people to see, like, hey, she does what she says she's going to do. She shows up. She does her homework before the meeting. She gets the stuff out, right? Because it also transcends who you are as a business owner. Now, if you're a crappy business owner, people, of course, are going to see that. But I'm operating under the assumption that, the people that are volunteering and getting engaged, they're going to see, like, wow, you've got it together. I want to work with you because I know you're not going to overcharge me, Mr. Plumber, because you're so organized when you show up to our board meetings, right? That people see who you are. And then you can also market and sell that back to your audience about, like, hey, I love my community so much that I donate my plumbing services to a family that didn't have the money at Christmas time. And you can use that as, like, look how amazing I am, because you're actually doing something. It's easy for people to get to know you when you're doing something than when you're sitting on the couch watching TV and taking a picture of your dog. Like, hey, we're just chilling watching TV, right? I mean, that's good. Now I know you have a dog. But it doesn't really tell me anything about your personality, which you can really shine through when you volunteer, right? Because it tells me a lot what organizations you're volunteering for. It tells me what type of person you are, and maybe how you show up and how you present yourself in your business and when you're volunteering, when I see you engaged in the community and volunteering. So that's way more than you want to know, probably.
No, I love it. And I can feel your passion for the community just when you talk. Like, I love it so much. So I know people are going to want to know where they can get a hold of you. So can you share and we'll have them in the actual video and all of that all over. So, but can you tell us where my audience can get a hold of you?
Sure. I would say either email or texting or phone call is best. I'm always happy to share what I know, what I've learned as I've been growing my business. Doing what I've been doing helped me double my business from 18 to 19. So I know it works. It's in the numbers, right? So my email is Andi, ANDI, at Couve Living, like Vancouver, COUVE living.com. Or they can call or text me at 360-810-9111.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm super excited. And of course, you have a Facebook page. We'll link to that as well if people want to get a hold of you that way. Well, so much good information. Thank you so much for being on, Andi. And man, I'm ready to sit down and put together my plan for being the mayor in my town, our town. But it's great. There's plenty of space for everybody to do this, right?
Yep. Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to be on the show, and kind of share what I've learned. I'm, like I said, happy to talk to anybody about it, help them put together a system. They just kind of want to talk out loud about what that might look like for them, because everybody's different and there isn't necessarily a set way to approach it. I think just taking action and doing something and doing it consistently and tweaking it here and there is the most important thing.
Agreed. Awesome. Thank you so much, Andi. And thank you guys for joining us today. I know you loved Andi as much as I did, so make sure you check her out in her locations that she gave, and the links will be below. So have a great day.
Bye. Thank you.
Well, thanks so much for hanging out today, guys. I really appreciate it. I hope you got some great nuggets from the information that was there today. And if you wish to dive any deeper, of course, you can find me at my Facebook page where you're already at, Mariah Young. You can find me at mariahyoung.com. And of course, you can check out my Instagram where I am always sharing just stuff from life, Plus, we've got our gals group. If you wish to join there, all the links will of course be below, so you can find that. And I look forward to working with you further. All right, until next time, bye.